I don't think anyone from Torpedo Rays has dove on a UFO site before.
They called it in as a plane crash. The government were the ones that called it a UFO.
This here way bigger than Roswell, far as facts go.
He knew exactly where to take us, and we were going to the spot that he saw this UFO.
This is roughly where the light was last seen that night before it just disappeared.
We definitely found some sort of unidentified object down there.
They have no idea what it is.
Maybe we find something else the next time, you never know.
I think we had so much fun the first time that when we left the first time, we were like, okay, we need to come back here. It's kind of like we opened the floodgates to this whole kind of like micro universe. Like 2 hours down the shore from us, there's this community where everyone has seen a UFO, and there's this infamous UFO sighting.
Aliens have taken over my life. I really don't know anything about UFOs, but after our first experience in Shag Harbour, I've wanted to learn more and more. We were really excited to see our new friend Laurie again. It had been 2 months since we saw him, and I could tell that he missed us a lot.
Laurie is just so passionate about having us there and us being like some of the first divers down there since 1967.
He saw how excited we are to learn more about the Shag Harbour UFO incident, so he was happy to invite us to the UFO conference, and we were really excited to go back.
The first weekend in October, we usually have a conference with local speakers and witnesses and tell them what happened there back then in '67, and anyone can come. There's a cost, but if you're a diver, it costs you more.
This year was pretty low-key just because of the pandemic restrictions, but it was quite interesting just to like be in this community of people that study this and are passionate about it. Like that energy is quite infectious.
I don't know if I believe in it. Well, I don't know what you call an alien. All I know, something come down and we see something. We reported a plane crash. Ain't changing my mind that we never see something. What it was, I don't know. But there ain't no little green man or pink elephants come out of it or anything like that. But we take it for granted it's well known. It's not well known at all. And it did go away till Chris Stiles and then started doing research to write a book, and that's what brought it back to life. Other than that, it died.
If there's one person who knows everything about Shag Harbour, it is Chris Stiles. He is a ufologist. Like, this is a field of study that he takes very seriously, and he's like dedicated his life to. I was listening to a podcast about how around Halifax, the same night as Shag Harbour, there was a bunch of
all over the province. It wasn't just Halifax
wow.
or here, Bay of Fundy.
Yeah, out off of Yarmouth.
all that one night,
All that one night, yeah.
A few years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, Chris Stiles went in to see the Department of Tourism, and somebody in the government in the tourism, he was definitely told by the government we're not promoting Shag Harbour. The government knows what it was, they just don't want to tell us so.
He was the special guest at this year's UFO festival, and he just so happened to be the host of the UFO trivia that we were able to participate in.
Well, test your prowess here on all things UFO. Okay, question 1. What is generally considered the first UFO sighting of the modern UFO era? And your choices are A, Roswell, B, Kenneth Arnold, C, Grand Falls, Montana, D, Captain Mantell.
Very quickly, once we started this UFO trivia, I looked at Jen and I said, uh-oh, we're really in for it here. Like,
I don't even know how I'm gonna get through this.
this trivia was very intense and went on for a few hours.
Question 34. We're getting through them here. I can feel the tension in the room. What agency did not investigate the Shag Harbour incident? A, the RCMP, B, the United States Air Force, C, the Rescue Coordination Center, or D, CSIS?
Anything that existed back then.
Is there cheating going on here? Is there coercion or cheating?
No.
I hope not. A T-shirt is at stake here, so I sure hope. Question 35.
I don't know what the answer is.
There was 50 questions, and I could spend 4 years studying ufology, and I might not even do that well on this test. Like, it was really intense. I think Jen got 50%. I didn't even pass. And so trivia ends, and everyone's kind of starting to like small talk and look to pack up. And then Chris Stiles comes to the front of the room and he goes, "Okay, and now Heather is going to share her alien abduction story with you."
And Heather gets up, starts telling her stories. Well, by that point, she's into it, and I'm leaning into her like this, like, just tell me everything.
This is how close this was to me. It was the size of at least a football field. And it made literally no noise. And then the light comes on me, and I don't know absolutely nothing after that.
Everything from when she looked up in the sky and she was paralyzed to this scar on her tailbone. And I was definitely a hardcore zero, like hardcore zero before I went to Shag Harbour the first time. Now I'm looking into the stars all the time, just waiting to see, like, am I next? Please tell me I'm next.
I saw 3 of those bobbing around the Cape 1969 on a Thursday night. Like she said, being a teenager in the 60s, you didn't tell people what you saw because everyone said, "Oh, you're crazy."
I mean, whether you believe it or not, for me, it's just like interesting to learn from people and observe and see how excited they all are.
And you know what? The interesting thing is these true cases are much more interesting than the fictional versions on television. And you know what? Nova Scotia's right with it.
Now, I want to go back to Shag Harbour every year for this convention at least, and another dive. Because I'm determined there's going to be something down in the water.
I'm no dive master, but keep your eyes open for anything unusual, and the chances are real low that you find something. But the great thing about this case is there's areas like that you can look, and to find nothing is actually a strange form of proof, because in a case where so many people are sure they saw something in the air and underwater that either disappeared or submerged, the fact that there's nothing there of any size nowadays, it could be the case where ufologically it is a happy ending. It's the one that got away. So, good hunting, girls. Good
Are you
hunting.
interested in putting on a tank and going down with them tomorrow?
Hell no.
So we showed up at the wharf for our second Shag Harbour adventure, and the first thing I see is Mr. Laurie Wickens. I think Laurie was excited for his favorite girls to come back down to the South Shore, and so he made sure to dress to the nines and leave a few buttons of that shirt undone.
So she heard about it, well, I wanted to see it. So that makes 5 effect. You can stretch yours out there. Don't tell them. Well, that's my show, right?
It's your show.
And he introduced us to Curtis, who was going to be taking us out on his lobster boat that day.
Me and his father went to school together, so yeah, he lived out up the street from mine. Tell you, just a great guy.
I was a bit inquisitive on just what the whole thing was going to entail. It's like some girls coming up to go diving for some UFOs. What?
Well, he used to be a diver himself, and he had a boat available.
Just dove basically for recreation, scallop diving, rack diving.
What do you guys get to a dive on a tank? Hour?
Hour, usually. Sometimes an hour and 15 if we're good.
So it was really, really great that he was our captain, who also understood the conditions that we need to think about when we're going diving in the water.
He had a really beautiful boat. His stood out to me among the other fishing boats in the area because it was perfectly manicured, the paint job was really beautiful, he had a head on board.
When you're a commercial fisherman in a small area like this, you get up in the morning and you go out either hauling your lobster traps, or in the summertime we go out sword fishing and tuna fishing. And that's usually not in our repertoire to get up to go take lady divers out to go look for UFOs. But hey, you know, there's always a first for everything, right?
The first time we went diving on location of the crash site, it was mid-tide, so the current was really, really strong. So this time, it was kind of neat to be able to go during slack tide, where the water is calm and there was no current at all.
I think the boat's more equipped for what we need this time as well.
This is the Cadillac of all fishing boats.
Yeah.
I think it'll be really interesting if that thing that we saw last time is gone. Yeah.
Curtis was super welcoming, very professional, but very, very friendly as well. He was also excited to take us out.
Lori was on the boat with us again, and yeah, just like the first time, he was the guide as the Shag Harbour eyewitness. He brought us to the spot that they last saw the lights.
Lori would be a very hyper, good guy. He would do anything for anyone, but hyper would be probably an understatement. Yeah, the UFO, there was a bunch of guys on the shore and they see a bright light, foam in the water. They did, and the light landed out there in the sound somewhere.
Everybody went out looking for parts or bodies. If you watch the news media things that the CBC filmed, you can see them on 2 different shots. You can see them bringing something up. Where it come from, that's another question then. And that the government knows.
I don't think I fully understood that. It wasn't like a one-time incident. This is like a common occurrence. Like if you are born and raised in Shag Harbour, you've probably seen a UFO. But they all see them in the sky. Besides the Shag Harbour incident, you don't hear much about the USOs, so I guess that's where we come in.
She's a beauty.
It really just goes with my aura.
The doors.
Last time I was on the water, we were tracking the great whites, so I'm a little nervous to be in the water today.
I had been on a white shark research charter. I know that there's white sharks in the area, especially on the South Shore, so I'm always aware that you might encounter a shark. Like, we're going into their home anytime we step foot in the water.
If you go and see Hal while you're down there, say hi to him for me, will you? Hal?
Yeah.
The great white that they've tagged.
Oh, okay. So I want to plan a blue shark diving trip. And blue sharks are kind of curious, so they'll come right up to you and they'll like bump into you a little. But
They only take little small bites.
Yeah, exactly. You'll survive a blue shark bite. I don't know about a great white bite.
Jen and Alana and Sarah, apparently they dive a lot together, and it was very evident that they do because they knew what they were doing. So I learned a lot. I see all the new gear that they use, and because I used to dive when I was younger myself, but the gear that they use today as opposed to then is like apples and oranges, so to speak.
2,800, that's pretty good. That'll get me probably like 50 minutes and see what we can find down there.
Woo, go time. Perfect.
Oh, baby.
We're ready. What we're gonna do is jump in, descend along this line here, and we're gonna swim kind of underneath the boat. And I guess the crash site is just below us between the 2 buoys. So we're gonna see what we can find. We're gonna stick together. By the looks of it, it looks like it's gonna be fairly clear, but we're not really gonna know until we get in for sure. So get at me. Woo!
They tell me the water's wet up here. So be careful.
I'll put that vibe. Time's great.
Okay, we're going.
All right.
And we're in. Let's do this.
They were very experienced divers, so they had some buoys that they towed around so we could keep an eye on them.
This is called a surface marker buoy, so it's really good for boat dives when you're not sure if you're gonna send by the boat.
Alana led the dive, and Jen and I were filming some footage.
There's a lot of just sea life, like your lobsters, your scallops, your flounders. They're just like your normal ocean fish that you would find around there.
From the night prior, having all these stories of aliens and UFO sightings in my head, there was a few points in the dive where you would like think that you're seeing something out of the corner of your eye, and I know it's just my mind playing tricks on me.
I think there's something about this area where it just works out for us to end up on spots and points of interest.
This time we saw a different sort of structure on the bottom. It was a little bit more wooden, and there were a few long beams kind of protruding from this one structure in the middle.
I was following it for probably about 100 meters. It was full of barnacles. You could tell it's been down there for years. It was an object like I've never seen before. Like I was just like kind of growing in as part of the coral, part of the rocks.
I'm not really sure what they found. Obviously, it definitely was something because there was more than one person that seen it.
I was going and I was following and following. And then as I started going further and further, the current started getting stronger and stronger. And I was like, I gotta go back to the girls because the current's gonna be terrible over on this spot where I'm at. And that they're never gonna find me.
Both times we dove on the crash site, we weren't expecting to see anything. But the second time we went out and were able to kind of swim around, we saw a lot of these weird kind of bulky concrete structures, strange lines and tubes.
It looked like a really long curved mast. At one point it was in between like 3 different rocks. So you're like, okay, well how did the rocks get on top of it? Because it was almost like it was buried under the rocks. So how old is this thing for the rocks to be like that?
Cool. That's cool.
Now that is living, guys. Look at that.
Any scallops? We made it! Like right below us, there's some concrete blocks.
Yeah, that I can tell you what they're for.
Yeah, what?
There used to be a salmon farm here.
Okay.
And
Where they described it, there used to be a salmon farm up there, and one winter it broke clear and some parts broke off and it sunk to bottom. So we're kind of speculating it may be the salmon farm, but we're not really sure what they actually saw. But so it's kind of keeping us guessing on that. Yeah. We'll call it a UFO, unidentified fishing object. I guess we could call it. Yeah, a UFO, or maybe it's just a little fishy.
But both times we saw something, which is really neat to encounter when you don't expect to see anything at all.
At one point, I was like, thought I saw something like move in my like peripheral vision, and I was like, spooky alien. Yeah. Shark.
The day after our dive, Lori actually called us and informed us that there was a white shark, a tracked one, that was swimming in the area the entire day. So we checked O-Shark, they're tracking white sharks on that platform, and we could see that it was like exactly where we were.
Maybe I did see something out of the corner of my eye, and maybe it was a great white shark. Or maybe it was an alien. I don't think we're ever gonna know.
Any lobsters or anything?
Yeah, tons of lobsters. Here, we can show you what we hauled up.
that's some old bottles. Yeah.
Yeah, these two are pretty old.
Yeah.
Like, this feels like there could be fingers inside of it, which is super scary.
Harvey, crab chow.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I have my sea life book. We can see what it is.
This one, it's the marine life of the North Atlantic. It's really helpful in identifying everything that we see. There it is. So our shell is a wrinkle whelk. Lobstermen often find the beautiful carnivorous whelks in their traps. And when I was just talking to the fellas here, they're like, we find these all the time.
There were tons of sponges down there too.
So many.
Like the big long yellow sponges. Yeah, finger sponge. Yeah, finger sponge. That makes sense. We got you scallop. All the black things, those are its eyes.
They look hot there, Chris.
You like that?
Let's see one of those bad boys.
Oh yeah, eat her up.
We showed the girls when they come up, and I said, "Do you guys know how to shock them?" No, we're hoping that you could do that for us.
Just take that and you make a swipe, and then you should be able to just pry that off. Anybody want a piece? Want to try it?
Cheers. Yeah, cheers. Mwah. Chef's kiss.
And so we were sticking around the next day and we wanted to get another dive in. And so Curtis, when he was a diver many years ago, he used to love going diving for scallops. That's like the thing you do, I guess, if you're a diver in Shag Harbour. You either dive for scallops or you dive for aliens.
I had mentioned to them, it's one of the things we used to do back in the day when I was diving, is really fresh scallops. So if somebody had never been before, we'd say, have you ever had fresh scallops? Oh, yes, they'd say. And I said, well, no, have you really had fresh scallops? Well, what do you mean?
Whenever he takes out divers and they have never shucked a scallop before, then they should shuck it underwater and eat it.
So I was telling the girls, we gotta try that, we gotta do that, that's something we gotta do. And they was all, yeah.
So Curtis and his first mate were super excited to take us out to their favorite scallop beds the next day.
Our goal for the scallop dive was not only to find as many scallops as we could, but it was also to shuck the scallop underwater and eat it.
Curtis had a scallop bag that he used to use when he was a diver, and so he gave us 2 of those bags to go down with. And we're about 60 feet deep in the water, and there was scallops everywhere.
The shucking was honestly the easiest part. Our dive knives came in handy for shucking underwater. I think I went first, shuck the scallop open, and once it was shucked, you get rid of the guts and everything, and then what you eat is just the like connector tissue of the 2 shells. And as quickly as possible, took my regulator out, put the scallop in my mouth, and chewed.
You have to either chew it or just swallow it whole and then put your regulator back in your mouth, all the while not like intaking water.
You can't suck in any of the water, you can't breathe properly, so it was just really, really weird.
I think lesson learned, you just swallow it whole, because I was trying to like chew it and swallow it, and then a little bit got stuck in my regulator, and it was so funny. We were all howling. Usually you can't hear your friends laugh underwater, but we could all hear each other laughing.
And so they got up on the deck, and the first thing when they got the regulator out of the mouth is, we done it, we ate the scallop on the bottom, it's awesome. So I was pretty impressed that they'd done it, and I said, good. So we passed on another little tradition that they'll probably pass on to someone as well. So.
Lori, what do you think?
A1 job.
We were lucky to collect just over 40 scallops. It was so funny. We came up, us 3 girls, with our 40 scallops. We're so proud of ourselves. And the fishermen were like, 40 scallops? Like, that's nothing.
After meeting Curtis, even his crew, like, they really made our experience a really, really positive one for us. And we all came back like, wow, this was amazing. This is probably one of the best dives we've all ever had.
I'll go back to Shag Harbour on a regular basis, even just to see Lori and Curtis and to catch up.
A good outdoor adventure, I guess, for not only them, but for me as well. I definitely would do it again in a heartbeat, for sure.
Oh, 55 feet.
I just felt like I had this new community in Shag Harbour. Beyond diving, just like a group of great people. So I feel like it's kind of like a second home now in a way.
What can we do to say thank you to them and just show them how much we appreciate everything that they've done for us?
We signed a picture of ourselves on our last adventure with Lori at Shag Harbour. We signed it and gave it to him as a gift to keep in the museum. We gave him 2 copies. Our idea at first was that one would go to the museum and the other one would be in his house for him to see us every day in case he missed us.
Thank you, girl.
His nightstand, he said.
It's pretty cool to be able to be part of the history of Nova Scotia, to go diving on the crash site location. Funny as well to know that our pictures may eventually be hanging in this museum.